Your time and your energy are the only things in this world you can never get back. And once I really understood that, everything about how I move changed. Money comes and goes, opportunities come and go, people come and go. But every minute you spend distracted, every ounce of energy you waste trying to please people who don't understand your vision, that's a permanent loss. That's life being spent without return. When you start seeing time and energy as currency, you stop spending it carelessly. You stop giving it to anyone just because they asked for it. Most people are broke in ways they don't even realize. Not financially, but mentally and spiritually. They wake up already tired because they gave all their energy away yesterday. They stay busy but never productive. They're always available but never fulfilled. That happens when you don't put value on yourself. When you don't respect your own time, nobody else will either. The world will take as much of you as you're willing to give, and it won't apologize for it. I learned that focus is a form of self-respect. If you're serious about building something real, you can't afford to be everywhere, answering everyone, reacting to everything. That kind of lifestyle feels active, but it's actually directionless. Real progress requires quiet mornings, long nights, and the discipline to say no even when it feels uncomfortable, especially when it feels uncomfortable, because comfort is expensive. It costs you growth. Energy is what powers your consistency. It's what keeps you showing up when motivation disappears. And when you let people drain that energy with drama, negativity, or confusion, you're sabotaging your own momentum. Some people don't mean harm, but they still do damage. They don't pour into you, they just pull. They don't add clarity, they add noise. And noise is the enemy of execution. You have to understand that being accessible all the time is not a sign of strength. It's a sign of weak boundaries. Strong people protect their rhythm. They know when to lock in, when to disconnect, when to recharge. They don't explain every move they make. They don't argue with people who aren't building anything. They keep their circle small and their vision large. Time is the only asset that doesn't multiply. You can't invest it and get more of it back. That's why you have to spend it intentionally. Ask yourself who deserves your best hours, not your leftover ones. Ask yourself what deserves your energy more, gossip or growth, comfort or commitment, distraction or discipline. Every choice you make is a transaction, whether you see it that way or not. When you start treating your time like it matters, your habits change. You stop scrolling mindlessly. You stop entertaining conversations that go nowhere. You stop chasing validation from people who aren't chasing excellence. You become more selective, more focused, more aligned. And that alignment brings peace, not the lazy kind of peace, but the earned kind. The kind that comes from knowing you're moving in the right direction. The truth is, nobody is coming to save you. Your future depends on how you spend today, on what you give your energy to when nobody's watching, on the discipline you practice in private. Legacy isn't built in loud moments. It's built in quiet decisions made consistently over time. So guard your time like it's priceless, because it is. Guard your energy like it's limited, because it is. Move with purpose. Invest in yourself. And remember, the way you spend your days is the way you spend your life. Being constantly available might look like loyalty, might feel like kindness, might even sound like strength, but in reality it slowly destroys your focus, your growth, and the respect people have for you. When you're always reachable, always responding, always showing up on demand, you're telling the world that your time is negotiable. And once your time becomes negotiable, your purpose becomes optional. Nothing meaningful is built in a state of constant interruption. Focus requires isolation. It requires long stretches where you're unreachable, locked in, committed to something bigger than instant replies and temporary approval. Every message you answer mid, thought pulls you out of your zone. Every unnecessary call breaks momentum. And momentum is everything when you're trying to elevate. You can't build something solid while letting people knock on your door all day. Eventually, you stop building and start reacting, and reaction never leads to mastery. Growth doesn't happen when you're everywhere. It happens when you're consistent in one direction. Constant availability spreads your energy thin. You start giving pieces of yourself to 10 different places and wonder why none of them grow. The truth is, you don't lack talent or opportunity. You lack protected time, and protected time is what separates people who talk about progress from people who actually make it. People mistake accessibility for importance. They think being needed means being valuable. But real value comes from what you produce, not how often you respond. When you're always available, people start to take you for granted. They stop respecting your schedule, your grind, your priorities. They assume you'll always be there, always listening, always giving. And the moment you need space, they feel entitled to question it. That's what happens when you train people to see you as an option instead of a force. Respect is built through boundaries. When you limit access, people pay attention. When your time is scarce, it's treated as important. The same words spoken by someone who's always available carry less weight than words spoken by someone who's focused and selective. Scarcity creates value. That's not arrogance, that's reality. The people who changed the game weren't easy to reach. They were too busy doing the work. Constant availability also keeps you emotionally exhausted. You're carrying everyone's problems, everyone's opinions, everyone's expectations. That weight adds up. It clouds your thinking and dulls your ambition. You start second guessing yourself because you've given too many people a voice in decisions they'll never have to live with. Clarity disappears when there are too many opinions in the room. The most dangerous part is that constant availability feels productive. You feel busy, connected, involved, but busy isn't focused and connected isn't committed. You can spend years responding to life instead of directing it, and by the time you realize it, time has passed and potential has been wasted. When you step back, people might not understand at first. They might say you've changed, and they're right. You changed because you decided to grow. You decided that your future deserved more attention than everyone else's convenience. That decision is uncomfortable, but it's necessary. Growth demands sacrifice, and sometimes that sacrifice is availability. You don't need to announce your boundaries. You just need to live them. Respond slower. Say no without explaining. Choose depth over popularity. Choose progress over approval. The people who respect you will adjust. The people who benefited from your constant availability will reveal themselves. Focus is fragile. Protect it. Growth is intentional. Schedule it. Respect is earned by standing firm, not by being accessible. Once you stop being available to everything and everyone, you become available to your purpose. And that's when real elevation begins. Not everyone who stands next to you is meant to walk with you. Some people don't come into your life to build. They come to borrow energy, attention, and direction. And if you're not aware, those draining people will slowly pull you away from your purpose without ever telling you to stop. They don't have to. Distraction does the job for them. Purpose demands clarity. It needs focus, discipline, and a strong internal voice. Draining people cloud that voice. They fill your mind with unnecessary noise, constant problems, and emotional weight that doesn't belong to you. Every conversation turns into a complaint. Every interaction leaves you more tired than before. That's not connection. That's consumption. And the more you allow it, the further you drift from what you're supposed to be building. A lot of people aren't trying to sabotage you intentionally. They're just stuck in the same habits, the same mindset, the same excuses. And when you start moving differently, your growth makes them uncomfortable. So they pull you back with drama, doubt, and dependency. They need your attention to feel stable. But your purpose doesn't need attention. It needs commitment. And commitment can't survive in chaos. You'll notice it when your progress slows down, when your motivation feels heavy instead of powerful, when you spend more time explaining your vision than executing it. That's the sign. Your energy is being redirected into places that don't return anything of value. You're pouring into conversations instead of projects. You're solving other people's problems instead of advancing your own mission. Draining people keep you busy, but not productive. They always have something urgent, something emotional, something that requires your immediate response. And little by little, your time gets fragmented. You can't lock in. You can't get into rhythm. You start forgetting why you started in the first place. That's how purpose fades, not in one moment, but through 1,000 small distractions. The dangerous part is familiarity. These are often people you've known for years, people you care about, people you once grew with. But not everyone grows at the same pace, and not everyone is meant to go to the same destination. Holding on out of loyalty can cost you your future. Loyalty without alignment is just self-sabotage. Purpose requires solitude. It requires time alone with your thoughts, your plans, your doubts. Draining people are uncomfortable with that. They need constant interaction, constant reassurance, constant presence. They confuse closeness with access. But access is earned, not guaranteed. And if someone consistently drains you, that's your intuition telling you something your emotions don't want to accept. You don't need to argue. You don't need to explain. You don't need to justify your distance. Purpose speaks through action, not announcements. When you start choosing yourself, the noise gets louder at first. People question you. They accuse you of changing, but what they're really reacting to is losing control over your attention. As you separate, clarity returns. Your mind feels lighter. Your goals feel sharper. You remember what you're working toward. That's not coincidence. That's alignment. That's what happens when you remove unnecessary weight from your life. You can't carry everyone and still run your race. Some people are not meant to be in your future chapters, and that's okay. Your responsibility isn't to save them. Your responsibility is to fulfill your purpose. And that means protecting your energy, guarding your focus, and choosing environments that fuel you instead of drain you. Once you understand that, you move differently. You listen more to your instincts and less to outside noise. You invest in people who inspire growth, not stagnation. And you stop letting distraction disguise itself as loyalty. Purpose doesn't wait, and neither should you. A lot of people get confused when you start setting boundaries. They call it selfish. They say you changed. They say you're acting different now. But the truth is, boundaries aren't about pushing people away. They're about keeping yourself intact. When you don't draw lines, life will cross them for you, and eventually you won't recognize who you've become. Survival in this world isn't just about breathing, it's about protecting your mind, your energy, and your direction. Without boundaries, you become accessible to everything. Every opinion, every demand, every emergency that isn't yours. You wake up already behind because other people decided how your day should go. That's not living, that's reacting. And when you live in reaction mode long enough, you lose control of your future. Boundaries are what put you back in the driver's seat. People will take advantage of what you allow, not always out of malice, but out of comfort. If you're always available, always giving, always understanding, people get used to it. They stop asking and start expecting, and expectations turn into pressure. That pressure slowly crushes your peace and drains your ambition. You don't feel inspired anymore. You feel obligated. That's a dangerous place to live. Boundaries protect your focus. When you decide what deserves your time and what doesn't, your mind gets clearer. You stop spreading yourself thin. You stop feeling guilty for choosing your goals over other people's convenience. Focus creates momentum, and momentum creates confidence. Without boundaries, focus doesn't stand a chance. There's a difference between being kind and being accessible. Kindness is intentional. Accessibility without limits is reckless. You can care about people and still say no. You can love people and still choose distance. Distance doesn't mean hatred. Sometimes it means self-respect. Sometimes it means you're finally listening to yourself instead of drowning your instincts in noise. The people who benefit the most from your lack of boundaries are usually the ones who complain the loudest when you set them. They were comfortable with you overextending. They were comfortable with you sacrificing. When that stops, they feel it. But their discomfort doesn't mean you're wrong. It means the dynamic changed, and change exposes truth. Boundaries also teach people how to treat you. When you don't tolerate disrespect, confusion, or manipulation, people adjust or disappear. Either way, you win, because peace is more valuable than popularity, and clarity is worth more than approval. You weren't put here to be liked by everyone. You were put here to build something real. Survival means knowing when to pull back, knowing when to rest, knowing when to disconnect. You can't pour from an empty cup and still expect greatness to come out of you. Burnout isn't a badge of honor. It's a warning sign. Boundaries are how you listen to that warning before it's too late. Setting boundaries will feel uncomfortable at first. You'll second guess yourself. You'll feel guilt. That's normal when you've been trained to put yourself last. But discipline always feels uncomfortable before it feels powerful. Over time, that discomfort turns into strength. You become more confident in your decisions. You stop explaining yourself. You move with intention. Boundaries aren't walls, they're filters. They don't block everything, they block what doesn't belong. And once you understand that, life gets lighter. Your energy goes where it matters. Your time serves your purpose. Your mind stays clear enough to dream bigger and execute harder. This isn't selfishness. This is survival. And survival is the foundation of legacy. Protecting your energy isn't some soft idea. It's a discipline. It's a daily decision you make when nobody's watching. The same way you train your body or sharpen your skills, you have to train your mind to recognize what feeds you and what drains you. Because energy is the engine behind everything you build. Without it, talent fades, vision gets blurry, and consistency breaks down. Self-discipline starts with awareness, knowing when something feels off, knowing when a conversation costs you more than it gives, knowing when an environment slows your spirit instead of sharpening it. A lot of people ignore those signals because they don't want to seem distant or different. But discipline isn't about pleasing people. It's about protecting what you're trying to grow. Every serious journey demands focus, and focus demands energy. You can't lock in if you're constantly carrying emotional weight that isn't yours. You can't execute at a high level if your mind is cluttered with unnecessary drama, opinions, and expectations. That's why protecting your energy is a form of respect for your own potential. You're telling yourself that your mission matters. Legacy isn't built on burnout, it's built on longevity. And longevity requires balance, structure, and restraint. You don't see the strongest people wasting themselves everywhere. They move intentionally. They choose when to speak, when to show up, and when to stay silent. Silence isn't weakness. Sometimes it's strategy. A disciplined mind knows when to disconnect, knows when to say no without guilt, knows when to walk away without explaining. That's not arrogance, that's clarity. When you stop reacting to everything, you start responding only to what aligns with your direction. And alignment is what creates momentum over time. People will test your boundaries, not because they hate you, but because they're used to access. When you tighten that access, some will adjust and some will fall away. That's part of the process. You're not meant to carry everyone with you. You're meant to carry the vision, and that vision needs space to breathe. Protecting your energy also means choosing discipline over impulse. Not every feeling deserves action. Not every emotion deserves expression. Sometimes the strongest move is restraint, keeping your focus sharp instead of scattered, keeping your peace intact instead of constantly defending it. Legacy is about what remains when you're no longer present. And what remains is shaped by the habits you practiced consistently. If you live drained, distracted, and reactive, that energy transfers into everything you create. But if you live focused, grounded, and disciplined, that strength shows up in your work, your relationships, and your impact. You don't owe everyone access to your thoughts, your time, or your emotional space. The more you understand that, the freer you become. Freedom isn't doing whatever you want. Freedom is having control over yourself, over your reactions, over your energy. There's power in being selective, power in choosing quality over quantity, power in building a routine that protects your mind instead of exhausting it. That's how you stay sharp when others burn out. That's how you stay consistent when others quit. Self-discipline is choosing the long road over the easy one. And the long road requires you to last, to stay healthy mentally, to stay connected to your purpose. Protecting your energy isn't optional if you want something that outlives you. It's essential. When you guard your energy, you honor your future. You give yourself the chance to build something real, something lasting. And that's what legacy is really about. Not noise, not popularity, but sustained excellence built with intention day after day.